And then I will give you the quote. Today, the uh, daily word, the word is belong. Belong. As spiritual beings, we all belong in the heart of God. A true sense of belonging is one of the best feelings in the world. It's knowing I am at home, fully accepted just as I am, and valued for my unique contributions. Today, I celebrate my belonging as a divine being, a child of God. No matter my station in life, my personal history, or my particular circumstances, I am a valued member of the human family. I extend this understanding to all others. I look beyond appearances and even my own preconceived notions to see my fellow divine beings. I honor their unique gifts, just as I would desire them to honor mine. We belong together. We belong to one another. We all belong in the family of God. The scripture for today is John chapter 17, verses 20 through 21. I ask not only on behalf of these, but also on behalf of those who will believe in me through their word, that they may all be one. And again, our affirmation, you may repeat after me, as spiritual beings, we all belong in the heart of God. Let's say it one more time. As spiritual beings, we all belong in the heart of God. Thank you.
So do we have any children today? Jack informed me today that he's now an adult. He's no longer, so otherwise I could have brought him up there. So we'll bless children that aren't here physically, and we'll continue to hold the idea of children in our minds and hearts. So together we'll say, I'm sorry, you'll have to listen. Well, you know what? This is a good time to find out if you guys remember the children blessing. So, child of light, we love you and bless you. We see the Spirit of God within you, guiding, protecting, and prospering you always. And that blessing can be for us too, because we are all children in our hearts. So our guest speaker today is Natalie Kimball. I know you all know her. She's been attending Unity Church of some type since 2003, and she's been here at Unity of Auburn since 2017. Nice trivia facts. And Natalie's spoken at other churches before. I'm looking forward to hearing her because I have not heard her speak. So let's give a warm welcome to Natalie.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. The talk, interestingly enough, is called Turn, Turn, Turn. All right. So we see evidence of change all around us at this time of year. Leaves are turning beautiful colors and releasing from their hosts. There's a nip in the air somewhere, especially at night, and the days are growing shorter. I often think of the seasons as a metaphor for changes that are part of life. For example, we can think of autumn as a time when we let go of those things that no longer serve us as we prepare the way for change by invoking our power of release. Winter is a time for turning inside and for seeking a warm, safe place to nurture our soul and connect with our Christ consciousness. Here we call on the powers of faith and strength as we seek right outcomes for the highest and best for all. Spring is a time for preparing soil and giving the guidance we uncovered in winter a nurturing environment for growth. Fully aligned with our Christ consciousness, we are ready to plant the seeds that will bring us gracefully through to the next chapter in our lives. Here we call on our powers of life and zeal. Summer represents the fruition of all the good we have created, the manifestation of right outcomes. Here we invoke our powers of understanding and gratitude. Some of the most quoted words from the Bible are in the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 3, verses 1 through 8. This translation is from the New American Standard Bible, so if you're a Birds fan, it might not exactly go with what we just sang. There's an appointed time for everything, and there is a time for every matter under heaven. A time to give birth and a time to die. A time to plant and a time to uproot what is planted. A time to kill and a time to heal. A time to tear down and a time to build up. A time to weep and to laugh. A time to mourn and a time to dance. A time to throw stones and a time to gather stones. A time to embrace and a time to shun embracing. A time to search and a time to give up as lost. A time to keep and a time to throw away. A time to tear apart and a time to sew together. A time to be silent and a time to speak. A time to love and a time to hate. A time for war and a time for peace. This sacred list represents all the seasons in the important matters of our lives. Some are happy times, others are sad. Some are productive while others seem wasteful. Some inspire peace and others bring pain. All of them are necessary for us to learn, grow, and evolve as spiritual beings. Their appearance is not by accident. If we look closely enough at each experience, it reveals a loving divine purpose that we can learn to trust. In the book Finding Yourself in Transition, Unity Minister and teacher Robert Brummett explains 3 distinct stages that we tend to go through with every major transition. Each one begins with an ending, something or someone we must let go of before we can begin anew. After an ending comes the void, a time of grief, disorientation, and eventually acceptance of change. Then we're ready for the new beginning itself. As with the seasons of nature, these stages cannot be rushed, and they require whatever time it takes to pass through them and receive their gifts. There are many ways we can identify the ending. This includes unhappiness, illness, depression, or just a general sense of malaise. Likewise, the new beginning is easily discernible. The problem resolves, the body is healed, the joy returns. Undoubtedly, the most difficult of these stages is the third one, the void. Sometimes referred to as the long, dark night of the soul, or the harsh, cold winter. The void is the stage where we may need the most assistance, and this is where Unity teachings can truly help. Let's explore some of the words from Ecclesiastes more deeply to see if we can discern the metaphysical meaning behind them and how they can help us navigate the void. Think of the phrase, a time to give and a time to die, in the context of ideas or beliefs. In order to make room for better ideas, we must release old, dusty, worn-out ways of thinking. It's the notion that you can't put new wine into old wineskins. It's the story of the resurrection, wherein we are tasked with releasing the current life we are manifesting so that we can manifest a new, more powerful, and higher vibration of life. In thinking about the phrase, a time to shun and a time to embrace, I'm reminded of a time when I started to seriously toy with the idea of getting sober. First, I had to identify and embrace the fears that kept me from moving forward. One such fear was that I would have no social life because most of my friends were heavy drinkers. Even though I didn't know what it would look like, I had to have faith that on the other side things would be better. In fact, my life in sobriety is much better. But in a way, my fear was not unfounded. In the fullness of time, I found it necessary to either release my old friends or watch them turn from me. In shunning or being shunned by my old friends, I was able to create space to embrace new friendships with new people who are happily sober. One of the phrases that gave me quite a bit of consternation when I first read it is a time to love and a time to hate. Unity teaches us that hate is destructive and shuts out light. And mostly that's true. In The Revealing Word, Charles Fillmore defines hate as extreme antipathy, intense aversion, lingering antagonism. While certainly negative sounding, these emotions are often necessary. Is the universe signaling us that something in our consciousness needs changing? That the ending that Reverend Brummett talks about is upon us? As part of my journey to sobriety, it became necessary to end a relationship with a man that had been an integral part of my life for over 5 years. I loved him very much and was having a difficult time accepting the fact that I most likely would not stay sober if I didn't end the relationship. I had a mountain of antipathy and antagonism as I struggled with this decision. In the end, I realized that the love I felt for him was not healthy for either of us, and that by releasing the relationship, I was finding a new way to love both of us. And what about the phrase, a time for war and a time for peace? Is there ever really a time for war? Certainly not in the sense of committing violence against other human beings. But there is definitely a time to go to war with entrenched or intractable problems. I've struggled with obesity all of my life. I have allowed it to define me and destroy my sense of self-worth. So imagine my surprise when I lost over 100 pounds and I wasn't any happier than I had been before the diet. I had to take a step back and really identify who the enemy was, and there were many. American society's take on the perfect female body, my own sense of failure, the baffling idea that nothing I tried worked, and the need to release my notion that my life would be perfect if only I were thin. Then one day a therapist suggested that I try loving myself just the way I am, without judgment or hate. She said, be a proud, bold fat lady. Now that is definitely a new way to fight the war, because it suggested that I make peace with my body. I wish I could tell you that this works so well that I am now no longer berating myself for carrying extra weight. That journey is ongoing, but it has given me a way to wage peace with myself and to practice radical acceptance. What other unity teachings can help us in this time of the void? Number one, go with the flow. The flow of life is a process of change. We must learn to accept the process and go with it. No stopping it anyway. Sometimes the challenges we encounter seem like dark tunnels. Yet every tunnel has a light at the end of it. This light represents the gift, whatever it is we are to learn, heal, or change. The darkness will pass as we move toward the light, as we gratefully accept the tunnel's gift. Nothing in life is static for long. When crisis comes, resistance is a normal first response. It's self-protective, and in the long run, it becomes self-destructive. With every crisis comes a choice to resist or accept, to respond in fear or in faith, to say yes or no. If we remember that there is a gift in every crisis or challenge, in every transition of life, we will be able to go with the flow more easily. As we discover the gift in every season, we learn to trust the loving, divine purpose behind it. Then the current of life can carry us off to new adventures, more rewarding and exciting than any we may have chosen in a resistant state of mind. Number two, embrace the eye of the storm. We all prefer that our life changes occur smoothly and naturally, but when they come at us with the force of a perfect storm, we can remember that these are intense opportunities for transformation. If we respond to each storm from the eye of God's presence, Where perfect peace and wisdom dwell, we will emerge even stronger, wiser, and freer than before. If you're facing a massive rescaling of your life, your first impulse will be to go into a whirling spin of activity. But there's a lot of value to just sitting quietly instead. In our example from Ecclesiastes, there's a time to speak and a time for silence. You need to allow yourself a fallow period before you can plant anew. Spending the time in the silence is one of the most valuable unity principles whenever things feel upside down. Number 3, ignore your inner reptile. There's a part of the human mind that's referred to as the lizard brain because it existed even in the earliest land animals. The lizard brain is mired in the material world and takes all of its clues from the ego. It likes the tried and true and resists change with a passion. The lizard brain was handy when deviating from a familiar path to the watering hole may have led to an encounter with a saber-toothed tiger. But in the modern world, it's like a misfiring car alarm, pointless and annoying. Seek out new perspectives. Zen practitioners cultivate the don't know mind. They work to assume they don't know anything, and in that way they see the world afresh. This is a great way to approach change, as an opportunity to start anew, to consider all possibilities. Ask naive, wide-eyed questions of anyone who is doing anything you might be interested in trying. Listen seriously to arguments you might once have dismissed. Be skeptical of common wisdom, that's number 5. It's dangerous to live in the aggregate, especially when you're trying to figure out your next move. Don't allow what prevailing wisdom says is impossible or crazy to defer you from the direction you are led. Worst case scenario is you make a mistake and, oh well, try something else. Although new beginnings are usually preferred over endings, we should remember that every new beginning requires an ending, sometimes even a death. Likewise, reaping a harvest may be preferred over the work of preparing, planting, and tending a crop or garden. But we can't enjoy one without the other. Even the transitional storms of our lives are necessary to clear the atmosphere of old ways of thinking that keep us from fully experiencing the next seasons of our lives. The oppressive heat of summer and the bitter cold of winter cause us to retreat within ourselves for rest, renewal, and creativity. There are so many wonderful lessons in Ecclesiastes that we can apply to our own lives. I urge you to pick one of the phrases this week and use it to help you identify ways that can help inform your spiritual journey and help guide you through the void. And let the seasonal changes of your life bring you renewal and growth in love and wisdom. Thank you. Okay, let's go ahead and take this time of meditation to sort of cement the ideas that were presented. Let's take a couple of deep, long breaths and exhale slowly. Spiritual teacher and author of the Prophet, Khalil Gibran, said, "Accept the seasons of your heart, even as you have always accepted the seasons that pass over your fields." It is the acceptance of change that we reinforce our capacity to maximize the gifts of change. If you sense a change, perhaps the hint of an ending or the shifting of consciousness within, immediately embrace it as an opportunity for growth. When confronted with feelings of grief, fear, or trepidation, simply stop and say, "Turn, turn, turn." In so doing, you lift your thoughts and expand your ability to use unity principles as a lifeline for navigating life's ups and downs. Every season is one of becoming, but not always one of blossoming. Be gracious with your ever-evolving self. I am gracious with my ever-evolving self. Let's say that together. I am gracious with my ever-evolving self. I affirm that Spirit is with me on this journey and that I am not alone. In the silence, I find the comfort of this companionship and lean into it for strength and security. I acknowledge that I am in the flow, for indeed I cannot be anywhere else. That I am in the eye of God's presence, and that I am open and receptive to the change that brings the highest and best for me and for others. I am gracious with my ever-evolving self. Together, I am gracious with my ever-evolving self. Let's take a few minutes in the silence with this thought. I am gracious with my ever-evolving self. One more time together. I am gracious with my ever-evolving self. Today we acknowledge prayers for ourselves and others. Those who have put prayers in our prayer request box, those who have called on silent unity, those in danger from storms, wars, or civil unrest, and for a peaceful and orderly election season. And for this and so much more, we say thank you, God. And together, amen.